Like, it was a very difficult shoot. I mean, physically draining, emotionally.
People were like, you want to do an apocalyptic film? Forget it. It's impossible. On your budget, there's no way you're going to be able to do it.
We were really in the middle of nowhere.
Wow. Yeah, we're really in the jungle here. This is like
it was
a
going to
Hollywood.
just be grueling.
But I'd never seen anything like this. I mean, it was
dead heat of summer in South Georgia, which is
Because
very
every day,
hot.
after working in the heat and battling mosquitoes and bugs.
The environment itself was very
There were a lot
challenging.
of things that were against us as far as like the heat and, you know, the weather, of course. And
It was emotional. It was.
But we were able to surprisingly pull off a lot with very
There's
little.
a film behind the film, and it's pretty much about the camaraderie of all the guys that worked on this film.
Give me more. Like a doll.
The idea from Deadland kind of came around when Damon, Osteen, and I started talking about wanting to do another project. We had just got through doing 29 Reasons to Run, which is a road trip comedy, ironically enough. And we had had so much success and kind of fun with that thing, we wanted to do something that really kind of tested the boundary. We wanted to do something way outside of the norm.
Deadland is the fourth film that Gary Weeks and I have worked on together. We met on my senior thesis film, Whale Lost, that I did at Art Center College of Design back in 2000. And we had a really good working relationship, and a lot of people that I worked with on that film, I ended up working with on my other two features. And so we just wanted to bring that same core group together and make something completely different.
I lost my cell phone once and kind of went nuts without it. And I thought about that. What would happen if one day all of these things that we take for granted were taken away from us? You know, what would be that one thing that you would really fight for?
Gary and I sat down and we started brainstorming, and we liked the idea of a guy looking for his wife through kind of like a chaotic time in the world. And we're like, well, let's set it a little bit in the future, make it apocalyptic. It's already kind of got a huge following, the genre does, so we wanted to put our own spin on it. And our spin is, it's kind of a love story set in this apocalyptic, harsh world. And I remember people telling us, you can't do it. I mean, there's no way you can pull this off. I mean, it's hard enough to do like a talking heads film that's set in a coffee shop, much less let's do a period film that's in the future that is going to require makeup, special effects, action, and creating a whole new world that the audience is going to have to buy into.
Doing something on a low budget at this, big a scope, and getting the right actors and the right look for it. It was a very difficult thing. We were lucky enough to be able to bring in actors that we had worked with before and we really trusted. We built a really great team around us with people that we had worked with before and people that came on referral.
I went off to Japan just to kind of take some time off, learn the languages, and really just try to hone myself over there. But Gary had this script called Deadland.
Brian T is someone I've met through Gary a while back, and I've been a huge fan and have always been impressed with his acting. Really wanted him to work in this film. He was originally going to play a smaller part because we thought he might be too busy.
And I thought that the role of Jax was awesome. It was the one other role aside from Shiv because of the scheduling. I thought of Shiv because I could just kind of shoot in, shoot out. But then with everything kind of working out, Jack's kind of approach, and it was kind of one of those charismatic things that always seems to happen with every kind of production or everything that you're doing. And at first read, he really comes off as, kind of this New Yorker, no nonsense, or maybe just like a little bullshitter at the time. But, I really wanted to bring something different. I really wanted to bring something, I want to say very original that really came or stemmed from just something that I could create, both, as an actor, but then, luckily knowing Gary and Damon, the people involved, allowing me and giving me the opportunity to really just kind of go there and giving me the freedom.
The first time I read the script, before I even knew what part I would be playing, I remember thinking, this is the character that I want to play. This is the one that I thought had a lot of juice, and somehow I was able to get the role. And when I had it, I was really excited because the preparation part of it was fun, because as an actor you just get to explore and create this backstory. And so I personally just journaled a lot in the voice of Harris.
Gary initially asked me to play P.O. Anderson in this movie, and we were sitting there talking back and forth about the character a little bit, getting some ideas, going back and forth, and for some reason Gary was like, I was thinking maybe you could do something with your hair for this particular character. And I'm thinking, yeah, maybe like some cornrows, something like that. And Gary's like, no, I was thinking more along the lines of like a mohawk. And I'm like, okay. And so I think the next day I went and shaved my head into a mohawk just so I could get comfortable.
All right, we're going where most location people would never go. We're not even sure where we are. I'm breathing heavy for no apparent reason. We're not even on like hard terrain or anything, but it's something you do. I've seen it in the movies.
Gary, for the opening with the, where you walk by and you just look in, you see like the gas masks. This could be it.
It does look bombed out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Probably about 3 months before we actually started shooting the film, Gary and I went to Georgia and we location scouted all these areas that we knew we could shoot at for free, which was kind of the reason we were going to go shoot the film in Georgia anyways, was we were going to go shoot at the old house and the land that Gary grew up on as a kid, so we wouldn't have to pay big permits and stuff. It really did help the writing process because we would find locations and be like, well, let's utilize this and rewrite the scene to cater to this awesome location. Ruben Steinberg, the DP, and Nathaniel West, the production designer, we all went to art center, so we kind of come from that design background anyways, and we really looked at photos of Chernobyl and World War II, and we kind of like, that was our spin on the look of the film, was using those kind of genres for inspiration.
Damon had been down there and showed me some photos and, brought back CD-ROMs, and we all kind of sat around and watched it on the TV, looked at photographs and listened to music. So I knew what was there, but I'd never been there. I had no idea what to expect as far as, the geography surrounding some of these locations, logistics as far as lighting.
This will work for that one scene.
Yeah, I like it.
And it would make sense you ought to be walking in a stream. That's what cowboys would do when they're running from the law.
Yeah.
The film was broken up into 3 stages of shooting. The first stage was going to be the flashbacks. We're going to shoot all of the flashbacks here in LA, and it was a very skeleton crew. And we just basically used my apartment, a friend of ours' bar, and another friend of ours' office space. Just pulled in our friends and stuff. The second stage was the big brunt of the shoot, which was in Georgia. It was 3.5 weeks long. And then after that, we designed it. We were going to shoot Shiv's tent as kind of a celebrity cameo. And we shot that and all the Revolution about 3 months later after we shot principal photography in Georgia.
Shooting in LA is always more difficult just because of because so much is shot here. They know the limitations and what you can get away with and what you can't.
I never felt that it was a low budget situation. From the word go, I was treated with the same respect, if not better, than on some of the bigger motion pictures I've been able to work on. And that was such a great thing, and that was a true testament to Gary Weeks and Damon, the director, because they really truly surround themselves with good people, both in front of the camera as well as behind the camera.
Anytime you get into a character, well, at least for me, I get very into the character. So in the scenes where she feels completely betrayed and is struggling with everything that's just happened, not just the loss of all of her finances and financial stability and these dreams, but also kind of, like I said, a betrayal. It's hard. It takes its emotional toll. You are running the scene for a couple hours, and when you get done with it, you're just exhausted.
And it was a great lead-in to going into Georgia, because by that point we kind of knew each other a little bit. It's kind of like ball players that just kind of, they played a couple of pickup games, but this is their first, they're waiting for the season to start. After the initial LA section, we had about 10 days to kind of get as prepared as we could for Georgia, which was going to be, the meat of the movie, the biggest part of it, which we're going to spend the next month down in South Georgia in August. Good times.
Going to Georgia was a little intimidating.
We were really in the middle of nowhere. It was the boonies. It was the absolute, backwoods.
And this is a very, very very small town, and it's where I grew up. So it's you know, personally it's fantastic to me, but you never know how people are going to be.
I mean, I was all the way, like, from day one completely up for it. You know, I just came off this big feature and stuff, and I wanted to do something kind of indie, but then also something, you know, with your boys and with your friends and with your peeps.
First day of shooting, Morris, Georgia.
Action!
29, life is so hard. It's such a shame.
Right on, fellas. Narrowly missed the rain. We got an amazing shot.
Nice.
So far, so good.
Nice. You know, Damon and I, we definitely both knew how we wanted it to look. The only thing that I could really do beyond that was try to give it the mood that it needed lighting-wise. That in this world, you know, there's hardly any technology that exists. It's very unrefined. What's left of what we all know is pretty much gone. So I always tried to keep it very kind of raw, you know, as far as the style of the lighting, not ever make it look overly lit, and even some of the scenes that are a little more stylized still are very practically motivated.
As well as playing Shockley, P.O. Shockley, I had another big role in the film as far as the production goes because I was the costume designer and costumer. Came over to Gary's house and he showed me what his ideas for the costumes were, and they were basically just some jackets he bought at the Gap. And so I said, well, you know what? Maybe I could do a little bit bigger role on the film and maybe help you guys out with the costumes. I mean, this is really a kind of a fun film to do as far as the costumes are concerned because of, you know, it's this post-apocalyptic world, so you can kind of do anything you want. I just went to all these like Army Navy surplus stores and got all these weird, you know, all these different kinds of camo from all over the world.
Well, our makeup artist, Dalton, was a very, very talented guy. A young guy too, but has the experience level of a veteran.
And he pitched his idea about making the makeup kind of like this bubonic plague look, but pulling other elements from different other kind of diseases. And
we sat for about 3 hours, I think, doing my makeup, and he was that detailed with everyone. When I walked over to the rest of the crew, when they saw it, it was pretty amazing the kind of reactions you get when you're covered in stage 2 plague.
I remember the first time he put the stage 3 makeup on Tara, who played Lexi. I mean, she walked out and we were just about to take our lunch, and I couldn't sit near her to eat lunch. It was, I mean, it looked so real, and she had these boils and gnarly, it was wet. It was really cool, because I'm like, this is gonna look great on film, but can you stand over there while I eat? Because it looks really too real. Like,
he spent about 5 hours doing this whole gate, and they shot it for 5 seconds.
And we spent about $5 on it.
Well,
too shabby. I mean, wait a minute, I'm sorry.
You guys spent $5?
Yeah.
I told you I had a $3 budget on this thing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I can't deal with this anymore. Can we get some more free art department and production?
I'm over
design,
this.
please?
I'm over this. I'm off. I'm walking.
while we were shooting, we would be on the heels of Nathaniel, our production designer. So we'd be shooting a scene and we're like, all right, Nathaniel, we're about to do Zuna's cabin. How's it going? He's like, oh, I got it. Don't worry, it'll be done. And him and Branden would be holed up in this old lake house that was really used for storage. And it would need a lot of work. The day we walked in, I just remember being amazed.
No way! Dude, I could live in here.
Nathaniel, our production designer, did an amazing job too, just sort of transforming these old farm sets or pig farms or houses or sheds that were just used as, garages to store garden tools. We turned these things into prisons and camps and hideouts and things like that, and tents in the middle of the forest.
We actually had to create a couple of them. One of them was the hole, where I first meet, where Sean originally meets Jax. That hole is not a real hole. It's actually the side of a gully, and we actually dug out probably 5 feet in and around. We dug that out physically.
Well, we were able to surprisingly pull off a lot with very little.
Georgia in August, awesome idea.
It was dead heat of summer in South Georgia, which is very hot.
The heat was unbearable at times, the humidity. Can you describe how hot it is out here?
It's hotter than a Texas whorehouse and
In hell.
in hell.
All that sun bounces off that hot black sand.
That's what they call a hot set.
Literally a hot set.
Yep.
It was the heat and it was the bugs.
Oh my God.
And battling mosquitoes and bugs and alligators.
I mean, you saw everything from rattlesnakes to, deer.
One continuing theme on the production shoot of Deadland is bugs. Big, large, giant, scary, poisonous bugs. In fact, I had a spider yesterday I took my hat off and there was a big green spider in my hat.
Focus in on that guy.
I remember every morning you would just spray on, off, like all over your body, and then reapply all day long.
But at the same time, it was like we were at boot camp, and after a while, you just got used to it.
Yeah, I think definitely the toughest day had to be the big ATV running scene.
When they were scheduling out certain scenes, for some reason, they scheduled out all the running scenes on one day, and it was the hottest day, actually, of the production.
It was over 100, I think it was 104. And most of that, the area that we shot was wide open, like prairie.
So we literally just ran, I don't know how many miles total, but it was hot.
Cameras rolling, and action.
Meanwhile,
Pretty late?
Hi. We're making a film about running. For me, I wanted to do that stuff. I wanted to get dirty and nasty and stuff like that. And sure, there's gonna be a lot of bumps and bruises and even cuts from barbed wire and stuff like that. But when you're in the moment and doing your scene or just working with others, you just get into it and just roll with it and have a blast, and whatever happens, happens.
This is the kind of stuff you go through. I'm telling you. And that's real, that's not makeup.
I can't even really see it.
Yeah, I know, that's the whole problem.
Put it on micro.
But pain.
If you put it on micro, you
So
get a good
obvious.
shot of it.
Unlike the scar.
Wow, that's a deep one.
Living in this house, in this fraternity house in Morris, Georgia, was a really great experience. It was definitely a good bonding experience for everybody, and I think everybody just sort of being forced to cohabitate in this felt like 35 room, 16 bathroom old house in the South was really good because at the end of the day there was nowhere else to go.
There were beds pretty much set up all over the house.
but it was fun. We had, this 20 or 30 guys in this house, which was Gary's grandmother's house, and God bless her, she was amazing. His 88-year-old grandma, Mama, as we called her, who would bake and feed us every day these fantastic meals.
My mom and my grandmother, my Aunt Eileen, and some other people that had come to help a little bit, they basically catered the whole shoot, and they worked around the clock. And this is a very hungry crew. I mean, when you got guys that are working for next to nothing, I mean, this is the glory time.
Yes.
What do we got here today?
We have a low country boil, which is made up of boiled onions, boiled potatoes, boiled corn, boiled sausage, and boiled shrimp. All cooked in one pot.
Is this your first low country boil?
Actually, it is.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Are you kidding?
No.
Yeah, I'm a low country virgin.
First low country boil.
I'm from Texas, I know this.
Oh, close.
I had this in the bed once, but it wasn't quite like this.
The movie is very heavy, so you need to keep that levity a little bit. So for some reason, that was what we would do. We would sing songs.
Ooh, those creepy, crimey chiggers. Chiggers. Itchy, bitchy little chiggers. Chiggers, chiggers, chiggers. They're crawling on my feet. They're crawling on my balls. They're crawling on my ankles. They're crawling in my drawers.
Sometimes you start having so much fun that you forget. Moments can take you by surprise.
The big climactic scene of the film with all the girls running away from the POs was the end of the shoot for all of us in Georgia, and it was also the biggest one that all of us were worried about because we had to get a lot of extras.
And I know you've got, I know you need some extras.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
what exactly are you looking for?
Well, basically what it is, it's the big finale scene of the movie. So it's basically some really good featured stuff of girls being, brought out and released from, their pain and agony.
A lot of them didn't live in South Georgia, so people drove down from Atlanta and from the surrounding area.
Cameras rolling. Action.
Actually, the one where you look away from the camera.
Thank
And by the end of it, you were just like heartbroken. You're like, I can't believe we're gonna leave this place. This has been so much fun.
It was a little sad to end, the second phase of shooting in Georgia. I mean, we kind of called Morse, Georgia our home for about a month, but at the same time, we still had this next big section to do, as well as editing the film. Stage 3 of shooting was the Revolutionary Camp and Shiv's tent. Gary and I wanted to get a celebrity cameo to play Shiv. It was a one-day shoot, so we got this awesome soundstage that Brian hooked us up with in Burbank, and we designed this cool tent. Gary put out calls to a lot of actors, and one that in particular that we kind of really wanted to work with was William Katt.
Having Bill Katt play Shiv was one of the coolest things that I've got to do as a filmmaker. And Bill came in and he just rocked it. And that is some very, very tricky dialogue. The character's crazy. I mean, he's literally crazy. And it's written that way to be crazy. And he took this character that was probably, arguably my favorite character in the movie, just because he's just so eccentric and, as an imaginary friend and just this crazy guy. And he made it look easy. And he had all the work. He had 90% of the work. And all I ever did was like, Shiv, huh? Can you tell me something? And he goes through 3 monologues.
I remember sitting down and telling him, I wish your part was bigger and you were one of the key characters in the Georgia shoot.
If shooting in South Georgia in July wasn't already hell on earth, we had to go and shoot in the coldest months. And LA doesn't always get that cold, but in the hills and the canyons above LA, it gets frigid. There were mornings we got there and it was 20 degrees and there was frost on my windshield, and you had to wear 2 sets of gloves just so you didn't lose an extremity.
His whole look in the film is he's sweaty and it's a hot world we're in, so everyone's bundled up in heavy parkas and gloves, and then we're spraying water on Gary to give him the sweat look. We felt sorry for him.
I had the opportunity to meet Harrison Page on a show called Tremors that we shot in Mexico years back, and he commanded Red bigger than I even thought that he would be. And he took the idea of the steel from just kind of a mythical type thing to almost a religious side of it, which is how he conceived the script. And I thought that was pretty amazing and pretty brilliant to get to work off of him.
And I just want you to step up into the close-up. And you're looking at these POs, bad guys come running at you.
Damon is a fantastic director. He's an actor's dream, really.
He really knows and gets what he wants, but allows you to get there on your own processes. And in certain situations where he was looking for something, he would allow me to go there and then kind of dictate how to get there. And it's that kind of freedom, that kind of trust between actors and directors that's kind of rare within the industry. It's a lot of times, just do what I say.
He's very friendly. He makes you feel very comfortable on set, and I think he has a very a good way of getting you to do what he wants you to do in a nice way, and not make you feel like, oh, that guy's controlling me.
And the good thing about working with Damon, and actually our whole cast and crew, everyone worked as a team. Everybody got to put in their own input. There wasn't anybody on there that was denied their ideas.
Since Deadland is such a
an unusual film in terms of the world that these people inhabit and the world that the story happens in. You know, the question is, what can we do with the music to kind of reflect this? We would use kind of a conventional orchestral approach to the more heroic aspects of the picture and moving along that part of the story. But we also had a great deal of music of what we thought of as the Deadland music. And the Deadland music involved either conventional instruments played in a very primitive way or very unusual, like ethnic instruments played in unusual ways, to kind of suggest a world where maybe people play these instruments who don't really know how to play them.
Our first cut was, I think, 2.5 hours long. We knew we wanted to make this film an hour and 45 tops. Working with great editors like Harry and Max, we restructured it completely. Originally, the bomb, the opening, was something that you see later on in the third act. And we're like, you know what, we need to open this film up with a bang. Why not just put the bomb right up front?
We're here at Ocean Way Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee, doing a little bit of the last part of post-sound, including ADR, working in here with Damon and Tony. Let's go ahead and see what they're up to right now. Tony, how you feeling? Why don't you sing us a song right now?
I feel great. I can totally sing any song you need right now. God, it makes my eyes water.
Anyone who's from the South knows that cicadas are a major part of the environment, especially during that time of year. And in case you don't know cicadas, there's extremely loud bugs that just sound like a constant buzz. So I decided, I made the choice on the first day that the cicadas were going to be part of this world. And in this world, I decided that after the nuclear holocaust, all of the animals, like birds and things like that, had been killed. The only things that were left were insects.
Because it'll be able to have this at the end. That's then we'll fade into that one.
You know, the great thing about Gary and Damon, and I give my hat off to them, is that they cast some really, not only good actors, but some great people that you'd want to hang around with and they'd probably be your friends for life.
It was a really awesome experience. I can honestly say that I no matter what film I go on from here, I will never have an experience that meant so much to me emotionally. It was just, the group was just a fantastic group to work with.
And that whole like all for one, one for all appeal in filmmaking is so satisfying and so deeply moving that you just can't fall in love, especially with, you know, what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish.
I hope when people come out of Deadland, what they take with them is a feeling of hope, because that's really what the movie is about. I mean, you know, everyone always thinks that the end of the world is going to be the worst thing in the world. But, you know, people evolve. People, you know, they rise to the challenge.
You know, it's not too far-fetched that some of the things and themes that is touched upon could actually come to fruition, which is really kind of a scary thing. I mean, you'd start to think it out, okay, this is really just a fantasy piece. But when you realize that it's actually based and grounded in reality, and this is maybe the direction where things could possibly go, it kind of makes you stop for a second and think, ooh, you know, have I told the loved ones in my life how much I care about them?